So Caroline, I understand in the new StarShip 2.0 link, Sage 100 ERP, formerly Mass 90, Mass 200 users, have the ability to expand the customization of their freight rules. Can you tell us why you've included this enhancement and how it helps the Mass 90, Mass 200 user?
Sure. Well, we basically enhanced the freight rules because customers had asked us to do so as primary reason. But the biggest thing with the freight rules is now with the new StarShip Link 2.0 interface, we are able to we have access to so many more fields than we had in the past. So with the old StarShip Link, you had about 27 to 30 fields coming over to StarShip at any given time, and those were the fields that you could use to define freight rules with. Now we have hundreds of fields that you can use as parameters to define your freight rules. So a lot of times customers will want to maybe use like customer type as a field to define discounts. So if you have a gold customer, maybe you give them a 10% discount. A platinum customer might get a 20% discount off of the list rate. So you have the flexibility now to do that. I happen to have the customized interface screen up here, so maybe I can just go in there really quick and show you what the freight rules looks like. If I click on my freight rules here, let's just bring that up. And basically here's where you define how and when you want the freight to be written back. So there's some base charges that you start with in settings. Basically the idea that you want to start with either the list or negotiated rate. So the list rate would be the published rate that is provided by the carrier, and then your negotiated rate is the rate that you've negotiated with that carrier. So that would be your contract charge. Otherwise, you can also start with 0 as a base to start building your rules up. I'm just going to start with list because many times customers do write back the list or a variation of that. And then you also have some flexibility on how you want the charges to be divided up. I'm just going to go into define freight rules here and show you how easy it is to add a new rule. I have one rule already set up that says I want to apply a 10% discount when my customer type contains the word gold. Let's just add a new rule and do something similar maybe with a platinum customer. So the total applied, the applied freight is the freight that's going to be updated on the Mass 90 or Sage 100 order the freight total on there. And here you just have a really nice, easy start to the wizard of defining how you want the rule to be created. So do you want it to be an increase, a decrease, or a fixed amount? I'm going to select decrease here and click next to get to my next page. And in this case, let's just say I want to have a 15% decrease on the list rate. You can define a minimum and maximum. I'm just going to leave that set for now. And then you can also say whether you want this 15% to be applied for all the orders on a shipment or based on the number of packages or none. If you select none, it's going to do it to run the rule based on the shipment as a whole. So I'm going to do this on the number of packages. And then I'm going to apply a condition. And to define the conditions, now you have a little condition builder. This is a new user interface from what we had in our previous version of StarShip and the StarShip Link. So just to make it a little bit easier for you to find. So here's my condition. I'm going to say I'm going to look for a mass field. And I'm going to look for the customer field. Here it is, customer type. So I'm going to say when my customer type, it could be equal to, or I could say contains. And then I want to create a constant value here. So it could also be a field value if you want it to be a value of a specific mass field. But I'm just going to put in platinum here. And then you could actually have multiple conditions and then determine if you want that to be an and or an or statement. You can do this all through the user interface. So if I finish this, now I have two rules. I'm going to modify the total applied amount, and I'm going to modify it by 10% for customer type gold, and I'm going to modify it by 15% and give them a 15% discount if their customer type is platinum. And that's pretty much as easy as it is to add a freight rule and define it. You'll notice here that I actually have a couple freight rules defined. You can define different freight rules for different interfaces inside of StarShip. So if you wanted to test your freight rules, this is one way to do it. Or if you had multiple companies inside of Mass that you wanted to define separate freight rules for, you could do that.